What can I say other than I love doing top 10 lists about fantastic books? I just want to start this video by giving a huge thank you to my patrons. Thank you for helping me to pursue my passion. Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and as always guys, I am Andrew, and today we have got the Q3 2022 top 10 list here for you. But before we get into that, make sure you are liking and subscribing, hitting that bell notification so you can get regular updates for when I put out new content. Also, make sure you're checking that description box down below for the link to the Wizardly Duo Discord, as well as links to all my social media, including information about my Patreon, where I do quarterly giveaways, weekly reading wrap-ups, and other general bookish content. And guys, I read so many fantastic books in Q3 that, this was a very hard list to make. Some favorite authors of mine didn't even make this list, but these books are all amazing, and I stand by all of these recommendations. I don't think any of them was below flawless. So for me, we're going to start with the one I don't own physically. That's because it is a fantastic audio book, and that is Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman. And guys, I read all 5 books in this series that are currently available within this last quarter, but we're going to talk about the first book. Guys, this was so good. It's basically game lit is what the subgenre of this series is kind of fitting into. We follow, of course, Carl and his cat, Donut. Basically, the apocalypse will be televised. The Earth has been invaded by aliens who have just kind of taken it over, enslaved the human race, shoved them all into subterranean dungeons or tunnels and things of that nature that is basically levels, and made them fight to the death for their amusement. And if that sounds kind of dark and zany at the same time, it's because it is. Basically, Donut gains sentience and is very sassy. If you've got a talking cat, imagine what that cat is going to say to you. And then you've got Princess Donut. Princess Donut also isn't just a regular cat. She was a show cat. So, do with that information what you will. But basically, when the invasion happened, Carl had just broken up with his girlfriend after finding out that she had been unfaithful to him. And so he was researching apartments. Donut jumps out of the window, and this is at midnight. So, Carl's just sitting in his apartment in his underwear, no shoes, jumps out after, and then all of a sudden, all the buildings just shove underground, and his life is preserved in this manner. However, now he has to go through this entire dungeon. This becomes a gag in his, footless and no pants. It's very, very fun. It's very, very interesting, and it gets just kind of darker and more deranged as the series progresses. If you like Borderlands, the video games, that's kind of what's going on. There's an AI that is kind of like the game kind of narrator that sounds very much like Claptrap from Borderlands. So that is the first book. That just was absolutely blew my mind. I flew through all 5 books. Next up, we have got Christopher G. Brenning's The Hellborn King. And guys, this is military fantasy, but it takes a good, interesting twist by focusing in also on the political side, while also being incredibly dark and having gruesome moments. We got Damien Dreadfire here on the cover. I have done a dedicated book review for this, so make sure to check up in the cards or down in the description for that review, because this one is not one you want to miss. But basically, all you really need to know right here is a kingdom at war and a royal family at war with itself. What this royal family is going through is just so interesting. It's so dynamic. These people are damaged and they do not get along, and yet somehow they have got to make it work because Damien is coming for them. Guys, this one is a stellar 5 out of 5 read for me. There is a sexual trigger warning in this book, so please be prepared for that if you decide to pick this one up. Other than that, I cannot wait to read the sequel. Next up, because we don't want this video to be super long, and there is a lot of self-pub on this list, by the way, I've also got a dedicated book review video for this one as well. It is Memories of Blood and Shadow by Aaron S. Jones. And this is a kind of Middle Eastern setting, kind of Name of the Wind retelling with a much darker theme. I like the characters more than I like from King Killer. But guys, this is just fantastic. Please also, again, up in the cards, description box down below for the dedicated book review. But basically, we follow Tavar Farwan as he is traveling with his family. The Alfaran government comes in, kills his family, enslaves him and his brother and his friends, and then forces them to join the military that killed his family. So guys, this one is just dark. It's got shocking moments. It's got heartfelt moments, and there's just multiple found families to be found in here. This one just kind of, I was wrung out by the end of this book. Whew, it was so good. And then this one is probably going straight into the top 5 of the year. This is going straight into the top 10 for the year because I just loved it so much. And it's been described as, I've been seeing on Twitter it being described as clockpunk. And that is Trudy Skies, The Cruel Gods, the 13th Hour. This is book 1 in the Cruel Gods series. Book 2 is getting ready to come out. And guys, this is something special. Kale is just, she's a godless. And essentially what that means is, in this world, the cruel gods are real. There are multiple gods who have direct communication and control of their souls. They use all of their worshippers as just kind of pawns and playthings. And the godless are trying to fight back the best way that they can. There is a deeper mystery here where then Kale is forced to join up with somebody who she would never think that she was going to. And then they form a great dynamic friendship and complex relationship. And guys, this is just fantastic because Kale is fighting to get back her lover, who has then fallen into the control of his god and is being tortured, and she's willing to do whatever she needs to do to get him back. I love this book. And frankly, we've got Kale right here and we've got Quinn right here. Both very great characters. Next up, we have got The Souls Aspect by Mark Holloway. What a great read. This one caught me completely off guard with, it's got some dark themes just that will just happen really quickly, but also it's got a very dynamic found family. It's got a great magic system. It's just the build-up and the formatting and the structure and all that just really works for me in this story. This is a healer turned killer. Basically, he is being raised to be, Kellum. Kellum is being raised to be a healer by his father when he realizes he has magic, and then is sent away to learn how to use that magic. And then a deeper mystery ensues. Guys, this one is not one you want to miss. Alright, we have then got Rance D. Denton's His Ragged Company. And I loved this book. This is a fantasy western, and I just have a thing for fantasy westerns. I don't know what that thing is, but it is in fact a thing. We follow Elias Faust in this book, and first of all, let's just take a second to look at the physical quality print of this book. Look at that art. That spine is gorgeous. So immediately that's what initially drew me to this book. And then we start following Elias Faust, who is this sheriff, and I believe it's called Blackstone, Texas, Black Peak, Texas. I'm not entirely sure. But it starts out very Western, people are coming in, they're causing trouble in his town. And then we kind of find out that there might be a magical element on what is going on here. And then when the magic happens, it just comes in like a giant wave and just blows you out of the water. So I loved His Ragged Company by Rance D. Denton. Alright, and then finally, we have got Wistful Ascending by J.C.M. Byrne. And guys, if you have not picked this one up, please do yourself a favor and pick up Wistful Ascending. We follow Rowan, who is this half-breed human with superpowers. But he's a retired superhero who has then gone out, done his duty to the alien overlords who rule the entire universe. And, he kind of owes them his lineage, and therefore they kind of owe his loyalty and things of that nature. But he gets out, and he goes and retires to Wistful, which is a sentient space station, because this series has sentient spaceships and space stations and things of that nature, and he becomes a tow chief. He just gets a day job. He doesn't want anything too spectacular. He's trying to be a better person. He's trying to form more interpersonal relationships. He's trying to work on his rage issues that are inherent within his race. And this is just such fantastic. I've heard this described as, it's got a little bit of slice of life, but if slice of life is having super strength and flying around and just trying to overall not be a superhero and just live your life, that's That's what this is. I loved Wistful Ascending, and book 3 is getting ready to come out, if not out by the time this video is out. Next up, we now have my traditional books, and we have got The Winter King by Bernard Cornwell. And I did this one on audio because it is narrated by Jonathan Keeble. And here we follow Durful. Durful is kind of this knight who is in service to Arthur, King Arthur, but we're not following Arthur's story specifically. We are just kind of we're getting his tale from the outside, and it does some interesting things because it makes Merlin a druid. It's just fantastic stuff was done within this book. This one, flawless. I absolutely love this. Please, if you like Arthurian stuff and you want a fresh take on it, like Merlin being a druid instead of a wizard, check this one out. It's so good. All right, we got 2 left. We have got Stephen King's Needful Things. And I know this is going to shock some people because I put out a post on Twitter. I've read 15 Stephen King books so far this month, and probably this year. And probably by the time you've seen this, it'll probably be closer to 20 Stephen King books this year, and nothing has been able to get me in my feels like Needful Things does, because it does that kind of slice of life where you go into Castle Rock and you get into the people's lives and things of that nature, and there's just something about Leland Gaunt that just got me so riled up, and the way that everything happens. Like, it was just shocking, it was horrifying, it was explosive. That book, when I finished it, I basically went into a reading slump because I was just wrung out emotionally. I had such a good time with it. I still think about this book pretty much on a daily basis. I absolutely loved that story. And then finally, you didn't think I was going to do a top 10 without including some David Gemmell, right? Because in that same Twitter post, I've read 10 David Gemmell books so far, and this is Dark Moon. This one is one of his standalones, and we follow Tarantio and some other interesting characters. Tarantio has a split personality. One is very kind of, he's a fighter, but he's more timid. And then we follow the other half, who is just a crazed killer. And it's just very interesting kind of watching how in just this amount of page, we get a fully fledged story of people being completely separate, coming together, dealing with a supernatural threat, and then overcoming that threat. We get multiple battles, we get multiple adventures, and all within this tiny amount of page. I mean, this hardcover barely breaks 300, and I think it's like 310 pages. This was absolutely fantastic. Another banger by David Gemmell. I mean, he continues to be one of my new favorite authors. That said, guys, that is my top 10 list for the third quarter of 2022. Please let me know in the comments down below what your Q3 top 10 is. I would love to know. And as always, guys, till next time, peace out, stay magical, bye. And as always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons.